Ammianus Marcellinus, a Roman general and historian, vividly described the heavy cavalry force of Persia. All their companies clad in iron, and all parts of their bodies were covered with thick plates, so fitted that the stiff joints conformed with those of their limbs, and forms of the human faces were so skillfully fitted to their heads that since their entire bodies were covered with metal, arrows that fell upon them could lodge only where they could see a little through tiny openings opposite the pupil of the eye, or where through the tips of their noses they were able to get a little breath. The Persians opposed us serried bands of mail-clad horsemen in such close order that the gleam of moving bodies covered with closely fitting plates of iron dazzled the eyes of those who looked upon them, while the whole throng of horses was protected by coverings of leather. For centuries, the heavy cavalry shaped military thinking and decided the fate of countless battles. Now let's journey through history to examine some of the most celebrated heavy cavalry units. The companions were the elite heavy cavalry of the Macedonian army from the time of King Philip II of Macedon, achieving their greatest prestige under Alexander the Great. Renowned as one of the most formidable cavalry forces of their time, they played a key role in many of Alexander's campaigns and conquests. Companion cavalry was composed of the most powerful nobles, and as such, had access to the best horses and equipment available. In Alexander's day, they mostly carried existence and wore a muscle cuirass or linothorax, shoulder guards, and Boeotian helmets, but bore no shield. A kopis, curved slashing sword, or xiphos, cut and thrust sword, was also carried for close combat, should the xyston be lost or broken. In battle, it would form part of a hammer and anvil tactic. The companion cavalry would be used as a hammer, in conjunction with the Macedonian phalanx-based infantry, which acted as their anvil. The phalanx would pin the enemy in place, while the companion cavalry would attack the enemy on the flank or from behind. Their discipline, speed, and tactical prowess contributed significantly to the success of Alexander's military strategies, leaving a lasting legacy in the annals of warfare. Byzantine Cataphracts were a much-feared force in their heyday. The army of the Pale Death of the Saracens relied on its cataphracts as its nucleus, coupling cataphract archers with cataphract lancers to create a self-perpetuating hammer blow tactic, where the cataphract lancers would charge again and again until the enemy broke, all the while supported by cataphract archers. The Byzantine cataphracts were heavily armed and well-protected warriors. Their defensive gear included a steel helmet for head protection, chainmail and gambeson to safeguard the torso, greaves for the shins, and vambraces for the arms. In battle, they commonly carried a small shield and wielded a long spear. For close quarters combat, they were equipped with swords and axes. Their war horses were clad in full body armor, ensuring both rider and steed were ready for the rigors of combat. The feudal-based Sipahi cavalry were a core feature of Ottoman armies. At the peak of their strength, the Sipahis were the spearhead of the powerful Ottoman armies that invaded the Balkans, conquered all of Southeast Europe, and struck fear across the rest of the West. The superior discipline, organization, and size of these armies compared to their European opponents made them all but invincible for the better part of 3 centuries of warfare. Only with the defeat of the last Ottoman attempt to capture Vienna in 1683 was the Ottoman threat to Europe finally broken. The Sipahi warriors were equipped with an array of specialized weaponry and armor. Their protective gear included plated mail and chainmail, designed to offer both durability and flexibility. They carried a round shield, providing a reliable means of deflecting blows and arrows. For ranged engagements, the Sipahi wielded the highly effective composite Turkish bow. They carried a quiver of arrows, ensuring they could unleash a volley upon their enemies before engaging in melee. When charging into battle, they were armed with a lance, allowing them to deliver a powerful initial impact. Kili, a distinctive Turkish sword with a curved blade, highly effective for slashing and cutting strikes. For opponents wearing heavier armor, the Sipahi carried the Bozdogan mace, a heavy blunt weapon designed to crush and inflict concussive damage. The horses ridden by the Sipahi were barded. This armor not only shielded the horses but also enhanced the overall effectiveness and survivability of these elite cavalry units on the battlefield. The combination of highly skilled riders, well-crafted equipment, and armored horses made the Sipahi a fearsome force in warfare. The winged Polish Hussars were an elite cavalry force, famous for their distinctive appearance and formidable prowess in battle. Renowned for their dramatic feathered wings, which created an intimidating effect as they charged into battle. They would begin at a slow pace in a relatively loose formation, gradually increasing speed and closing ranks as they approached the enemy. The front rank would level their long lances, copia, aiming to break the enemy's line through sheer momentum and force. They often repeated these charges multiple times until the enemy formation shattered. After the initial lance strike, they would switch to sabers, conchers, pistols, and sometimes warhammers or battle axes for close combat. Their horses were specifically bred for speed, endurance, and agility, enabling them to carry heavy loads and maneuver effectively. Winged Polish Hussars played a crucial role in several major conflicts, including the Battle of Vienna in 1683, where they helped turn the tide against the Ottoman Empire. They were a formidable force for centuries, and their spectacular appearance and battlefield successes have made them a legendary unit in military history. Which heavy cavalry unit made the biggest impact on you? Share your thoughts in the comments.